All right, day 3. So apologize, this thing's bouncing around a little bit. I didn't bring my mount from the truck. Taking the kid to school today. So, yesterday I forgot to mention people I watch. This is nauseating. You guys are gonna kill me if you have to watch that. Let me try to secure this a little better. There we go. Forgot to mention Justin Rhodes. So he's pretty well known. I mean, I really don't need to give him a shout out, but he did the American Farm Tour, Great American Farm Tour. I think he's through like 40 states, 200 days, a little over 200 days. So he's going to all 40 states and stopping at local farms, pretty much following local agricultural movement in this country. So he does a really good job of that and profiling a lot of the people who are doing different unique practices on their homesteads. And some people are pretty big and pretty well known. He stops, and some people are just basically homesteaders who might go to a farmer's market, or they're just completely just living off the land. So yeah, he's great to go watch. Justin has got let's see, hundreds and hundreds of videos so far. So he's tons of material to watch. When he does his I think last year he did 100 days of growing food, which is it's a good. He basically did the same thing. He did every single day. He would do a video, and he also has he's got Lyme disease as well. So he does some profiling of the struggles he went through. But we actually met him twice here. I'm in North Idaho, so I'll talk a little bit about myself today since I haven't really done that yet. We're in North Idaho, my wife and I, my 2 kids, and we went up to Sandpoint. He had a meetup group in Sandpoint when he came through North Idaho on his way through to Seattle, and you could tell that it's a lot. I can't imagine having to go to all these different states and then having all these people like kind of glom onto you as they meet you for the first time. And it's a weird dynamic because all of us at home that might watch his videos, you kind of get a sense like him and you almost forget like he has no idea who you are. He's never seen you before. He's never seen your home life like you've seen his home life. So yeah, it's pretty unique. But I also saw him a couple days later because we have a gluten-free, non-GMO restaurant here in town. I apologize. This is going to be so annoying that this thing's swinging, guys, but I did leave my mount, so it is what it is, I guess. If you're anything like me, you just turn audio on videos anyway when you're driving in your car. So, and there's nothing really to look at besides my mug and my son in the background. Colton, you say hi? Hi. Thank you. What was I saying? Yeah, so he came down to our restaurant on his way out of town. So it was a little better time just to meet him one-on-one. Super cool guy. His wife is awesome. His wife Rebecca is just a super sweet lady. She's great. And excuse me as I pull out in front of people. Yeah, it's a great family, great story. I mean, they've really grown that channel up to the point where between his website and his YouTube stuff, he's making a full-time living off of the knowledge that he's gained and reaching out to others and social networking, and it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Let's see. So I mentioned my wife and I are in North Idaho. We got 2 little kids. I really have a love for doing, a passion really for trying to get into the sustainable agriculture, permaculture courses and things like that. So I just found a decent course online that's actually free that can at least get my beak wet a little bit in the permaculture world. Because our property is this whole area. So our property is pretty barren, and this whole area in the valley here in North Idaho is an old floodplain from Clark Fork Dam, ice dams that used to form up there, and then they break free, and this area got flooded like a few dozen times, if not more, and then it hit the Columbia Gorge and then all the way out to the ocean. I mean, massive floods today that we can't even imagine. So I've just got tons of massive rocks all over my yard. It's kind of a nightmare in terms of building anything. If you have to excavate, or gardening can be a little rough. I do have a garden area that I removed a lot of rocks from, and we'll go around my yard a little bit one of these videos and show you a little bit. I mean, we've been so busy with this restaurant, I haven't done nearly as much of that as I would like to do. Kind of let the garden just go this summer. It was so dry. That's the biggest reason we might in the future relocate, is that whole permaculture dynamic about being self-sustainable and having these fulfilling cycles, the water cycle and nitrogen cycle, and just kind of having the self-sustainable agricultural food forest mixed with the herbivores, mixed with the poultry, is really hard when you get no rain between the beginning of June and it's September 11th, September 10th, September 11th today, and still we haven't had rain. We had one rainstorm now in a little over 3 months, and everything is beyond dry. I actually got some soil out of my compost pile. Yes, this is the compost pile I don't water. It's just the grass clippings and things like that, leaves and straw and stuff like that. I should be watering it, but I haven't. But we put it in, my wife was putting in some seeds for empress trees, and we're just gonna do the starts inside. And it took 10 minutes for the soil to actually even absorb the water that I put on top of it in the pots. It was pretty remarkable. It just kind of sat on top of it, which is, a lot of that is, that's a little microcosm of the runoff issues that a lot of these barren areas of the United States have, that lack the organic soil complex. They might have 1 or 2% organic material in the soil, and the water just shoots right off it, shears off to it, erodes. All of those things that so many people talk about can degrade the land in a hurry. So yeah, that's our soil right now. Around the house is nice and lush, but that's because of irrigation that we pump out of the ground. And we don't have any water on the property, which is another thing we'd really like to have. When we moved in, my wife was pregnant. It was far enough out in the country for me, close enough to the hospitals and shopping and things like that for her. And it's a great little town, but it is rough to do any kind of agriculture here. And if you are doing it, you're pumping so many gallons of water out of the ground. It's not really what I want to be about. So we'll see. We might relocate at some point. We did just go to New Hampshire, which was an interesting experience. I mean, the whole place is covered in trees. It's so lush. That would be outside of having harsh winters, which is fine, because if I get into agriculture in the future, I kind of want to do what Jean-Martin Fortier does, which is he takes 3 months off, 2 or 3 months off. So and he's obviously in Canada, so he busts butt for 9 or 10 months, and then he's got his vacation during the holidays, and they go different places most of the time, and obviously go south and take some time off and rethink about how they're going to plan the next season. So that seems like a really nice lifestyle, and they certainly make enough money to get by and put some away and invest back into their property and their farm. So yeah, that's where we're just running around. Got both kids in school now. More like glorified daycare for my littlest one, but my son does do a decent amount of work where he goes. And change lanes here. Yeah, so Irma just went through my old home of Pinellas County down in Florida, and it actually seems like it wasn't that bad. They got power outage, but no major road arteries have been wiped out. I know the bridges, they'd suspended all traffic on the bridges because of wind, but I don't think there's any structural damage. There might be something that comes out later. But yeah, all in all, that's pretty remarkable. That storm slowed down quite a bit on its way up the coast. I know they got hammered down in Naples and a little bit in Fort Myers, and Miami's, a lot of downtown Miami did flood, and I'm sure there's going to be just, a nightmare of recovery work. But as far as like demolishing buildings and really tearing up the roadways and things like that, it wasn't as bad as many thought it was going to be. So that's good for them. And let's see what else we can talk about today. Anything else about us? I don't know if I have anything else. Like I said, I'll take you guys around. I just moved my chickens all together. So I moved my young flock in with my older flock because my goose died. My fault. My goose got caught in, I had bird netting over my whole chicken run. And there was like a loose piece that was kind of flopping down. And she was trying to get something and got her head caught in that bird netting. It's terrible. I feel pretty awful about it. She got her head caught in that and tried to get out and strangled herself, I guess. So she was kind of the protector of my young flock, and then as soon as she left, the young flock started jumping the fence and getting into my backyard and getting into my landscaping and my strawberry patch and all that good stuff. So they started to become a little bit more of a nuisance, and my chicken house that's on my chicken run is plenty big enough for them. I think now I've got 23 chickens in that area, and then I got 3 bantams that I let just hang out with the goats. They do a good job of picking through the goat pen and kind of keeping the bugs down and things like that. So, and the bantams don't go anywhere. I mean, they just kind of, they stay pretty close to home. They're a great little chicken. And actually our bantams have been pretty good layers too, so they're going to stay in and kind of help keep the goat pen sanitized. I got 4 Nigerian dwarfs that are basically just hobby goats at this point. We don't milk them or breed them or anything. They're all girls. We might end up, I had my pasture area that I'll show you is pretty barren. I planted seeds and I was watering it. We got a lot of rain this summer. But I don't think I prepped the ground well enough for the seed to take very well because it's such a hard pan. Our whole property was such a hard pan when we bought it. And I should have maybe done some light disturbance, drug some tree limbs and branches all, zigzagged across the ground prior to laying the seed so the seeds could get some penetration. Because not much of it took, which is unfortunate. And if you don't irrigate during the summers here constantly, which I haven't really had time for because I don't have my central irrigation out there, it doesn't go out there. It's just for the landscaping around the yard. So it's too bad. They really don't have, so I'm giving them too much hay. I'm having to supplement a lot with hay, and I do very, very, very minimal feed, like a handful in the morning, a handful at night for the 4 goats, just as a little treat. But we don't do too much with that, just because they're herbivores. They shouldn't get grain, in my opinion. But they do get scraps. We give them some compost, a little nibble on banana peels and carrots and collards and things like that, as I have waste from either the restaurant or my own kitchen. So we do bring that home, and that keeps them going pretty well. I did make a mistake, and they buried their salt block, and they started getting like terrible diarrhea. They're obviously getting mineral deficient because the lack. Anything that grows fast out there is like Canadian thistle, and I don't know what this other plant is. It has a purple flower, but it's stupid invasive that I think the rail companies brought in a few decades ago to keep pine growth down on either side of the tracks. But now this stuff's everywhere, and it's nutrient deficient. It's terrible. It doesn't have any complex minerals that allow them to be worth foraging at all. I mean, it doesn't give the animals anything they need. So those things tend to grow really fast, and the goats will eat them down, but they're not giving them any nutrients. So you have to keep that salt block, of full spectrum salt block, mineral block that they have. And as soon as I got them some baking soda and found that mineral block that was buried, they're doing really well again and not having any of those intestinal issues. So yeah, you live and learn. It's my first set of goats, at least as an adult. My parents had some, but all right, I am at school, so that is day 3 done. I'm gonna do another short one later today, I think, as well. Thanks, guys. Bye.